The cycles, we reinflate our egos by doing it ourselves and demonstrating your mastery of this thing. But really, the real humbling thing that you have to have is that if you had to do it yourself, it's because you're a crappy leader.
I can see the whole wide world with these two eyes, and I can be whoever I wanna be, 'cause it's my life.
Hi, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Ask Spurrell CPA. Today, Edmonton Business Coach, we're talking about how real entrepreneurs don't do it alone. So again, Edmonton Business Coach, we're talking about real entrepreneurs don't do it alone. I have Trevor from Inspired Method here. Trevor, have you seen some business owners try to do it alone?
Yeah, I did a couple of service-based businesses back in the day, and I tried doing it by myself, and it failed miserably because you're trying to do everything. You're trying to take the phone calls, you're doing the marketing, you're doing the work, and you're trying to stay up on top of all the bookkeeping, getting supplies, and you run out of gas, and then something falls off, and it just doesn't work well.
Yeah.
And we also have a lot of solopreneurs that we are working with that we're trying to help them to develop and grow a team so that they don't have to do everything and they can actually grow and scale their business.
Yeah. So the quote that I have here for everyone on this one is, Jocko Willink, retired Silver Star Navy SEAL, founder of Echelon Front Consulting, and author of one of our favorites, Extreme Ownership. And he says, a good leader does not get bogged down in the minutia of a tactical problem at the expense of strategic success. 50% of all Canadian small business will go out of business in the first 5 years. 23% of these failed businesses will list their inability to recruit and retain the right employees as one of the primary reasons for their failure, making it one of the top 3 reasons for businesses failing. And the story that we have here is entrepreneurs get that false impression that if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. That's a limiting factor. So, Trevor, what are the questions that these business owners need to be asking?
All right, here's a biggie. Do people that are drawn to entrepreneurship also tend to have inflated egos?
This is tough, and we have to face this as business owners. that you are likely the person, the personality type that generally gets drawn to running business also generally has that inflated ego syndrome. I am better than the other people who can do this task. So we have to be aware. We have to have that awareness that if you wanted to be an entrepreneur, whether you think so or not, you likely have that trait.
Yeah, and in a lot of cases, people who start businesses are, let's say, they're great technicians. Yeah. They are so good at their craft and they're better than the boss, so they decide, I'm going to go ahead and start my own business because I'm better than all these other people. And then they get started and realize, oh no, I don't know how to sell anything, but I'm a great technician.
Yeah.
So number 2, why should having to do it yourself be a humbling experience in leadership?
So here's the point. We soothe ourselves as entrepreneurs. Like, that person couldn't do it. I'll do it myself because, and we reinflate the cycles. We reinflate our egos by, doing it ourselves and demonstrating your mastery of this thing. But really, the real humbling thing that you have to have is that if you had to do it yourself, it's because you're a crappy leader.
Yeah.
So you're doing it yourself not because you are great at the task, it's because of your inability to teach and your inability to lead. And that is a task that every entrepreneur, including myself, I've had to realize that task. If I'm stuck doing something myself when I intended someone else to delegate it and it got turned back into me, I'm not doing it because I'm the best in the world at that task. I'm doing it because I failed my leadership task in that one. And once you come to that realization, it's a tough realization to come to, but that's the one that's going to set you free. So now you start looking at it as that I'm not doing this because I'm a genius. I'm doing this because I'm an idiot on delegating and leadership. And once you have that awareness, now you can actually start getting better.
All right, now here's a question for you, Josh. What is the 30-day alien abduction scenario?
So the 30-day alien abduction scenario, you start thinking about your business. So you think about your business in terms of what would happen to my business if I was abducted by aliens today. So today I get abducted by aliens. What would happen in my business over the next 30 days.
We'd probably run out of coffee.
We would run out of coffee at Spurrell and Associates. I'm still getting coffee. But there's some things that happen in a business. Now, some business would completely grind to a halt, right? And I think about my business. 8 years ago, nothing would happen. I mean, if I was when it was just me and I was a solopreneur, nothing would happen at all, right? But then you start to think about, now as we move outwards, in 30 days, if I was abducted by aliens, people would probably wonder where the heck I was. But I think they would still they would show up to work. Everybody knows where when we meet with the clients, what we need to say to new clients that come on the phone, what we do in most of our meetings are a standardized type of meeting. Now we move forward that 30-day abduction scenario. So just think about itself. Where would my business start to break down, right? I certainly haven't perfected it yet, but I think I'm at the point where if I was abducted by 30 days, everything would reasonably look somewhat similar when I got back in 30 days. I'm probably not at the point where if I left for a year, it would look very similar, but certainly in 30 days, it would look very much the same as when I left it 30 days ago. But you just start to think about yourself. If I didn't come in, this would be the first ball that would drop. This would be the second ball that would drop. This would be the third ball that would drop. And this is what the business would probably look like 30 days from now. That's the 30-day alien abduction scenario. And you should take a few minutes to think about what that would look like in your business.
Now, Josh, what should you do with the challenges identified in the alien abduction scenario?
So now you start looking at these challenges, these balls that are going to drop. I would look at them almost probably in order of the order that they're going to, what is that first ball that's going to drop if I leave? That's probably the first thing that you need to work on: training someone, writing a checklist, writing a template, putting processes in place that someone other than you can actually do that. And you just start looking at each one of those as the first one that drops. The first ball that would drop, do that one first. And the second ball that would drop, do that one next. And just do it in order until you got a process that, hey, in 30 days, you don't have to be perfect. Just the big, don't worry about the little things getting stuck through the cracks. Just the big things. So, can people open the doors to the office? Can the billing still get out? Can we still collect the payments, right? Can we still answer the phones? All of that sort of things, those big items, just work them through in order of the order that they would break down if you were to leave.
All right, so should most business owners start by compiling a list of passwords?
Yeah, a lot of times you have one of the simple ones, you have good, capable people on board and they can help you with it. They just don't know how to get into the system. They don't know how to get the password out, and sometimes as business owners we're guilty of, you don't know the password yourself either as the business owner, so sometimes it's a good tool for you too. But the first thing you probably need is, someone else needs to know the passwords, and they got to be written down in one single location. That would probably stop one of those first balls from dropping, and it's not too terribly complex to figure out how that one gets done.
Now, can most owners step away from billing and collections?
So most owners can, and that'll be one of the common balls that are going to drop. Is most owners cannot, get away from the billing of their clients and receiving the receipts. So if you were gone for 30 days, now you just have all of your expenses are continuing to accrue, but you're not collecting any money. That's probably one of those big balls. Again, don't worry about the little things falling through the crack in 30 days. What are the big things? Well, guess what? If you can't bill and collect money, that is a really big part of the business, right? So that's one of the ones that you're going to have to look at as well.
Now, how will assembling checklists and templates help you automate routine tasks?
So the things about what is the process that you go through your billing, those checklists and templates, they're going to think about. So you just write it down. This is how I bill. These are the steps that I take. Maybe I'll have a standardized template that I'm going to do. And maybe in a meeting, usually our meetings come up, there's a standardized finished product that looks like. If you start having those checklists, those templates, now you're putting other people in a position where they can replicate your likely behavior. Maybe they can't do it at quite the same standard. They haven't been doing it as long as you yet. They're not quite as familiar with it. But they could do an okay job. The business wouldn't completely fail in 30 days. Again, you're not trying to write it that the business could fail. The business could operate in perpetuity as if you weren't there. You're just trying to think about how could they muddle through 30 days.
Right.
What checklist or template could I put in place? I get them the password. The other thing, one of the other likely things is a standardized filing system. A lot of times people they can't actually help you with activities because they don't know where things are. They could probably complete the billing if they knew where the work order was, but they don't know where the work order is, right? They need the password to get into the system. So what's that standardized filing system? They could get the contracts. They could do that. So you probably should have a standardized filing system, standardized nomenclature for all the file names. People can actually find them, navigate through them. They're not sitting on one person's computer that's locked down, and no one else can get into it. It's not only that helps with the 30-day alien abduction, that helps with data loss too if you have all the important files saved in one spot. So you can start, doing checklists or templates to how to do these, big ball tasks that are going to drop if you don't solve them.
Now, Josh, what's the difference between a checklist and a template?
So a checklist is usually like a series of steps. What I ask when a new client calls in. If I'm going to, the bill itself, the invoice itself is a template, right? Whether it's generated manually through QuickBooks, that's the template. But what are the processes that the steps that I need to follow to populate that template? That's the checklist, right? So the checklist is normally a series of steps or actions that you're going to do that a lot of times the client is never going to see, but it's the internal work process and it has a list of order of things that we're going to do. Whereas the template, a lot of times that's an email that's going to go out. That's a standardized script that they're going to hear on the phone. That's the difference. You normally want to think about your business in terms of people say operations manual or policies and procedures. 9 times out of 10, the most valuable parts are going to be the checklist and the templates. This is the checklist, this is the order of what I do and how I do it, and this is the template of ultimately what gets said or what gets used.
All right, Josh, the $1 million question is, how will going through the alien abduction scenario help you scale your business?
So now you've done this with the false pretense that you're going to get abducted by aliens, and hopefully nothing actually does happen into your business that actually would prevent you from working 30 days. But now if it does, you have systems in place. But now you can start to actually put those into practice. So now we can actually say, hey, look, normally I am the one who does the billing. But I have this process in place. Let's give it a go. I've trained this person. I've written a checklist. I have a template that they can follow. Let's try to do that then. And then, you can use that to, once they're comfortable doing it, now move on to something else to make your business bigger, better, something that you can use to make the service even a higher level, deliver a better level of service, or, start pursuing activities that are going to bring more clients through the door. So going through the alien abduction scenario is not just for the exercise of, what if something really does happen to you for 30 days, you get sick or car crash or something like that. But it's also, now once you have these items in place, now let's start to use them, not on a stress test 30-day scenario, but let's start using them every day to free up, an afternoon here or a morning there for you to do something to make the service better or do something to bring more clients through the door.
Awesome. I love it.
So I think that's what we have here today. Thanks again for tuning in. As always, we would enjoy any comments that you have below so we can respond back. And also, please hit the like and subscribe button so we can continue to deliver you tips on how to beat the odds of business. Thanks very much.